Hey everyone, Vogue Squared here, and we have a very special guest today. His name is Blake, or otherwise known as the First Coast Reseller on Instagram. He's been on eBay selling full time for about 2 years. He's 29 years old, and I just want to now give the floor over to him to tell you about his story and his journey reselling on eBay. So there you go, Blake.
Hey guys, I'm Blake from Jacksonville, Florida. Actually live in a suburb called Fleming Island. It's an actual island south of Jacksonville. I been, like I said, reselling for a few years now, but I guess to go back to the beginning, I grew up, well, my grandmother, we always pick me up after school. We go to thrift stores, yard sales, Goodwill, like just looking for anything. And she'd always pick up, she ordered pocketbooks all the time. So, but we always had like yard sales on Saturday. So it kind of got me into like the thrifting world at that time. And throughout my entire life, through high school, I've always thrifted for fun, for like t-shirts and things like that. And then went to college at Kennesaw State University and for my bachelor's in marketing. And I did a little bit of thrifting in college, selling part-time, nothing crazy like now, but I did a little bit of stuff on iOffer, which is like a sister side of eBay at the time. I'm not sure if it's even still open now, but at the time it was pretty good. It was pretty good next to eBay. In 2014, I decided to move away from the marketing world, a 9-to-5 job, and move to Jacksonville, or Ponte Vedra Beach to be precise, where the Players Championship plays in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. And I was worked in ballet as a bellman with my best friend as a bell captain at the time at the Marriott. And I was doing that. It was crazy, sick money, meeting people like George Bush, Bill Clinton, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Florida Georgia Line. I mean, different types of people from all walks of life. It was a great time, a lot of good experience. But at the time, I decided to start. I was looking through YouTube videos and came across a guy named Rake and Profit from Massachusetts, and he got me really into the full-time like reselling and watching all his YouTube videos from measuring to what to find, what to sell, and what sells. And I figured, I've always liked fashion. I've always liked, I wear a lot of J. Crew, so I've always liked to go and look for things like that. So decided to go to the first Goodwill in Jacksonville Beach, and I came across some crazy items. I mean, I found like a Coogee sweater from Australia. That was one of the very first things I found. A lot of Brooks Brothers things, and kind of just started off with that. And I was doing that part-time while I was working full-time as a valet, and usually worked like 1 to 9s, 3 to 11s at night. So I went in the mornings as soon as they opened to source. And been doing that, like I said, since 2014, and eventually I decided to just do this full time at the time. So it definitely, it's fun. It's like a treasure hunt every day, and I've come across some great items. I mean, the area I live in is a very super high-end, like rich area. I mean, when I lived in Ponte Vedra, the homes go from $500,000 to $20 million. So you can find, that's where I got mostly things I find are like suits and blazers, sports coats. Those are more the high-end things I find, as well as like dress shirts. But like I said, there's maybe, I think I go to possibly 11, 12 Goodwills throughout Jacksonville area. So it's they're very spread out, but they're all in the same city. So it's nice. So I just go from one, just go all the way throughout the day sourcing. And I usually source like twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, kind of give it in between time for them to restock.
What's the reasoning behind the Tuesdays and Thursdays? Do you usually hit the same thrift stores?
Usually Tuesdays I go to about 4 or 5 on this side of town where I live in Fleming Island, like the Orange Park, Mandarin area. I do all those on Tuesdays, and then I go on Thursday, which tomorrow I'll be going over to Jacksonville Beach, Ponte Vedra, and that's where I hit those up. It kind of splits the time up because here on the weekends, the Goodwills and Salvation Army, they're crazy. Everyone's out. The resellers are out. Your dad and mom's out. Your grandparents are shopping. I mean, everyone's just out. It's just crazy. It's just usually I figure out Tuesday, Thursdays. It's a lot less hectic, and there's a lot less competition out as well.
Okay, nice. So what are some of your top, like, let's say, what are some of your top 3 favorite brands to find?
Definitely Brooks Brothers. I mean, I find everything from suits, like their Madison, their Fitzgerald, their Regent fit suits. So those are the more the high-end suits. I sell those from 100 to $250 a piece. Actually, I have one right now. It's a Regent fit. I'm asking, I think, 200 on eBay, and have like 12 watchers. So hopefully someone will eventually pick it off. But usually Brooks Brothers, everything I pick up is usually like plaids, stripes, checks. I mean, I like bright colors, vibrant, more outgoing things like that. So I stay away from the typical, the bland, like the whites, the plain blues, unless they're slim fit. And I haven't come across like 6 white slim fit Brooks Brothers dress shirts. I bought them all together in one lot. But typically I stay away from like the plain boring. I kind of stick with more of the. I'm picky when it comes to reselling, because I usually only look for like something I can make at least 35 or more. Like my average sales for this month is like $70 on average per item. So I sell less quantity, but more high quality items. So
nice. What about, do you have any other brands that you like to?
Oh yeah, sorry. Let's see. I mean, Ralph Lauren's a good one for like more of their high end stuff. I found like a double R Ralph Lauren corduroy jacket recently.
Yeah.
So Ralph Lauren's good. Brooks Brothers. I found a lot of Peter Millar. I know that's kind of hit and miss, but I usually only pick up like the Nano Luxe ones. They fetch a little bit more, like around $45 a piece. I guess it's something about the twill of the fabric it's made of. It's made of a little bit more finer fabric. I do a lot of like TPC Sawgrass golf shirts and jackets, because those things are numerous. Around over 500 holes of golf just in an hour's drive from where I live. So there's tons of golf related things from Ping, Izod. I mean, so now I've kind of went away from that, but I'll see how you sell that, and you're really good with that. So I decided to start looking more in with the golf polos from Nike, Izod, Ping, all that. So, and then I mean, there's tons of brands I use, but let's see, I'm trying to think. There's so many. Joseph A. Bank's a good one for me. I usually only mess with the Joseph A. Bank gold signature, and then the platinum signature. They're the two highest end suits that they offer. And I've found the platinum signatures made in Italy. They're pretty rare. I found 3 of those in the last 3 months, so they're pretty good. And they fetch anywhere from $150 to like over $200. But the signature gold, I find those at least like on a weekly basis, and I always fetch those from probably about 85 to over 120, $130, depending on if it's stripes or solid. But those are like my more bread and butter ones to go to. But I still find Brioni, I find Etro, I find Cornellani.
What's that?
It's more the higher end.
I've never actually heard of that brand. What is it?
Which one was that?
You said the Coriani?
Oh, Cornellani. Yeah, it's I think it's Corneliani. I found one of those back like in my first year of thrift, first time full-time thrifting here in Jacksonville, and I came across it and I was like, I didn't know what it was, and I saw it made in Italy, so I snatched it. It was cashmere and wool, and I got home and checked it, and I saw that they were going for $350, $450, $500. It was on Halloween. I was fixing to go to Savannah with friends for a Halloween party in Savannah, and I hurried and posted it before I left. And before I got to Savannah 2 hours later, it sold for $350. So it's and I found a suit about a month ago from Salvation Army, and it was half off day, and I paid $10, and I sold it for $200. It was just a solid black suit. So, and they have different sub brands of that, but they all sell. They're all, if you have one, it's a gold mine. You find one, because they sell. If it's a typical blazer, it can sell for over $100. If it's a suit, you're looking at $2,000 or $200 plus.
Yeah, I actually started picking up Joseph A. Bank after following you on Instagram. Actually, I don't even know how I stumbled across you. I think I was just browsing Instagram one day, and then kind of, since you had the reseller in your name, I started hitting the follow button on a bunch of like either thrift people or people that had reseller in their name. So yeah, I appreciate the content that you're putting out, especially on the higher end stuff, because I had no idea. I always passed up on Joseph A. Bank stuff. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I just created that Instagram channel. I always had a personal, but I actually created that one first of this month. So I haven't had it long at all. just started. I realized I was like, well, he's like, other people do it, you know. It's like it's you know, kind of like spreading more knowledge, because I've learned so much from the Bonafide Hustler, Raking Profits, College Picker. I mean, I have all those guys I've followed for the last 2 years on YouTube videos, from watching their videos weekly. So it's kind of cool to be able to give back to the community. And I'm actually thinking about this over the spring and summer, create like an ebook on the brands that I sell from A to Z, you know, from do like dress shirts to sweaters to suits and jackets, and kind of, you know, maybe offer that to people that are interested in that possibly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually thought about writing an ebook on more of like kind of step-by-step guide how to get started on eBay. But yeah, I think that would be very helpful to the reselling community, especially on the men's side, because there's so few of us that are actually just exclusively doing menswear, I noticed. So yeah, if you guys, if you do write it, I'm definitely interested in getting my hands on one.
All right, cool, yeah.
So people want to know right now, did you say where you're originally from?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm actually from a small town about an hour north of Atlanta, Georgia. So I was born and raised.
All right, nice. There you go, people. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. I have another question for you. Kind of what got you started into reselling or piqued your interest?
Like I said, growing up, I'm with my grandmother all the time to thrift stores, yard sales, just doing that on, you know, on a weekly basis with her. It was always like a treasure hunt. And it's always fun. Like, she'd always find, she loves collecting watches and purses. So it's always fun helping her with that. At that time, I never thought, you know, you can actually sell someone else's junk for your own, you know, your own income, for your own, you know, your own way of making money. So as I got in college, I had friends that would go to the thrift stores for you know, looking for random stuff for either their own collection or their, you know, for parties or for dress ups, stuff like that. And I realized, you know, there's like a lot of stuff. People donate everything. I mean, it comes in and it just never stops. And like I said, once I moved to Jacksonville, I knew this area was such a, you know, it was a high-end area. So I said, why not go to the Goodwill and start doing it? At first, it was really awkward. I'd walk in with my phone, and you can probably tell I was a noob. Everyone looked at me. This one lady was like, are you a reseller? I was like, yeah, I'm trying this. I'm just trying it, you know. She goes, oh, she's like, you need to look at the blazers. That's where the money's at. She's like, this Calvin Klein blazer here, I sell these for like $50 a piece on eBay all day. And I was like, okay, cool. She's like, yeah. She's like, I just got divorced, and I was like, cool, you know. So she sent me some information, and she's like, yeah. She's like, I drive a $100,000 Mercedes Benz, and I resell. So yeah, I see her every once in a while in the thrift stores, and you know, so it's kind of cool when I see her. But I try to go different days. I know she goes like on Wednesdays, so I try to go on different days, so we're not trying to kind of compete the same stuff, because some people are pretty cutthroat in the reseller world. So, but for the most part, in Jacksonville, there's not much competition that I notice in the men's section. Maybe women's could be a little different, but in the men's, I see people come in every once in a while that I think they're resellers. I always look at them like, are you a reseller? No, yeah, I think they are, but then they probably fizzle out because it's a lot of work. I mean, people think, you know, oh, you buy a shirt, you put it online, take some pictures, and you're done. You know, but there's more to it. I mean, from just the sourcing part's fun, but when you get home, that's when the real work begins.
Exactly. I mean, all my friends think that I just sit at home and twiddle my thumbs and somehow get eBay sales every day and make 6 figures doing it. So I fully understand where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've even tried to help friends do it as like on a part-time basis, and they would go with me for a few weeks. And at first, it's fun because, you know, they're sourcing, they're finding these items, and then they put it in their trunk of their car, they put it in their closet, and then it's probably still sitting there right now because they give up on it. Because I mean, they're working, going to school, so I mean, I understand, you know, it's tough. I mean, but if you really want this, you got to put the time it takes to put into it. You know, in the end, you can be successful or it could be a total failure. It's just whatever you want. You know, you got to make it for yourself.
Exactly. So what kind of pushed you towards, well, I guess, so after college, did you get a full-time job in the corporate world? And then kind of, if you did, what'd you do in the corporate world? And then what kind of pushed you towards leaving that and doing full-time?
Yeah, I graduated in 2011, bachelor's in marketing. And at the time, you know, I knew I wanted to do marketing since I was in college, and just because being the creative side of everything. And I love like InDesign, Photoshop, those kind of things. I knew that with marketing, those go hand in hand. So, and marketing is so broad, you can do almost anything from sales to the creative side of it to in between. And I did that for a few years, and I enjoyed it. But toward the end, it was like you're working for someone else. You can work 9 to 5, sometimes later. When I was living in Atlanta or Kennesaw, I was commuting, and it would take me probably an hour and a half to commute, because going from the north side of the city down to the middle of the city, it's crazy, it's ridiculous. And then it's the same thing coming back home in the evenings around 4:35, and you basically waste 2 to 3.5 hours of your day commuting. And I didn't want to live down in the city. I liked it where I was at, because it's just, it's more subtle. You got everything you need up there, and there's no point living down in the city just to get to work earlier. So I would leave earlier, but it'd still take me a ton of time to get there. But doing that for a few years, I just woke up one day and realized I wasn't meant to be doing that, and I wanted something more. So I took the chance to move down to Jacksonville, and that's where I worked at the Sawgrass Marriott for a little over a year. And then once that happened, I got into reselling, and then first it was just a hobby, making extra cash, doing this and that with, putting in the savings, and then it became more than that. So, and since then I've been doing it.
That's awesome. So I'm getting a lot of questions on the live chat. They want to know why you're rocking all that Alabama stuff in the background.
Yeah, my adopted cousin, he's a kicker for Alabama. Adam, he kicked there for 4 years. He's a senior this past year. So I grew up as an Alabama fan. That's what I've always ever known. And I have a great aunt. She has property on a lake close to Talladega. So it's just part of who I am. It's just in my blood. But it's the team I root for, the team I cry for. I mean, it was a hard loss losing to Clemson at the last few seconds there, but it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Were you at did you go to the Michigan State Alabama game?
No, I didn't go to that game. I went to the first playoff game this year against Washington State, in the Dome. So I wanted to go so bad last year, but I didn't have the time to. So
yeah, I'm
sorry
still
about that. It was a good game, but it wasn't. It was lopsided for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm still a little sore on that whole Michigan State Alabama game. Luckily,
you gotta respect that. Nick Saban, he started his career at Michigan State, so.
Oh yeah, he did. It's funny because at the athletic building, he actually donated money for one of the rooms. So his name's on a plaque outside one of the rooms there. So it's always funny to walk by that.
That's cool.
But all right, so another question: how many items do you have in your store? Or I guess if you're not comfortable answering the question, how much did you do in gross sales last year? It's fine if you don't want to answer, because some people don't like to give their numbers, but I figured.
Yeah, I don't mind. Right now, I currently have around 93, 95 items. Like I said, I don't list a lot of items. I list the more high quality items. That's what my business plan's been around for the area I live in. So I'd rather go out and pick up maybe 2 or 3 items at one Goodwill versus going in and picking up 20, 30 items that'll fetch me like $15, $25. I usually just pick up like the more higher end things, just so I can spend more time, because I feel like with the suits I sell, I spend more time taking pictures and making sure they're correct measurements. So it takes a little bit more time than a typical normal shirt or a sweater would take. So yeah, that's what my business plan is, more high quality items. But last year, I think I made close to 50,000. And I was doing that even when I worked at the Sawgrass Marriott, where I was making probably like close to 52 doing that, working for tips, on top of working part-time, making around, I think I was making anywhere from 30 to 45,000 part-time with eBay.
Yeah, this is definitely the better career path, in my opinion. That's awesome. See, because I'm kind of a little bit different in the sense that I do pick up quite a few items. I would say I'd be more of like a medium flipper. You were saying that your average selling price this month was what, like $70 or $80? You said?
Yeah, on average for each month.
Okay, yeah. So mine's sitting around like 30 or so.
Mm-hmm. But I'm actually looking into like more of the brands you sell. I see those all the time, and if they're like you said, they're just sitting there. You're walking around past the money. I mean, you might as well pick it up if it's the right price. And my Goodwills are pretty cheap compared to what I see people like on the community reseller world, where they're saying like some Goodwills are outrageous, or Salvation Armies are going up. Like I pay $4.49 for most dress shirts. It's like $4.80 with taxes, and blazers are $5.99, and then suits are $10.99 plus tax. So, and of course I got Salvation Army shirts are usually like $5.29, so half off that, or $2.29 half off, and suits are anywhere from 10 to 15 half off. So from where in Jacksonville, you would think that they would be more high end. I know though in Ponte Vedra, the Jacksonville, the one Goodwill, they have a thing called Boutique. It's like they try to put all their hiring items in there once they source them through everything that comes in that one store. And it's funny, they put in these like no brand suits that, you know, they look nice, but they're not worth $5 in my opinion, and they're asking $60 for it or $100 for it. And then you walk into the Goodwill next door, and I'm finding, you know, Brooks Brothers, Brioni, those kind of high-end items, and people, they're just missing it. I mean, it's falling through the cracks, and that gives us like the reseller opportunities to, you know, pick it up. So if you do think your Goodwill, you know, is a little pricier, or that they do source like this one does and put it into a separate store and charge more, stuff still falls through the cracks. And don't pass that store by. You never know what you can find, because I've been coming home after a long day of sourcing, and I was like, I'll just skip that Goodwill. It's usually not that great. And then I walk in and I found a women's Patagonia puffer jacket, and it's one of the newer ones. It's like a year old. So, you know, if I would have passed right by, I would have missed the opportunity. So
yeah, exactly. It is weird, like how, or not, I guess not weird, but kind of funny how they price items at like Salvation Armies or whoever the pricer is, because you can definitely notice the brands that are more mainstream, like the mall brands like Express, J. Crew, Banana Republic and stuff. Usually that's priced higher than a lot of like Hugo Boss, or like I'll find Lululemon all the time that's priced dirt cheap. I'm trying to think of some other higher end brands that I pick up that are usually cheaper than the mall brands, but Brooks Brothers, it's crazy though. I sell Brooks Brothers a lot, and I saw that you sold like just a pretty normal blue and white plaid dress shirt for $40, and like on those shirts, I price those at $20. So I need to.
Yeah, I mean,
get back to my.
I definitely like when I look for those shirts, like I try to look for like the more colorful, vibrant color ones, but I do really well with them. I mean, I usually, if it's like a basic one, like from the factory, which says 346 with the size large, whatever, I start those usually at $39.99, unless it's like a really bright, like I have a few Easter like color ones, like one's like a bright yellow and like orange and wine, one's like pink, blue, and navy, and they don't have like the sheep on it, but they're like basically they look brand new. So I start those like at $39.99, even sometimes $45, and then I usually get asking price, or I get somewhere $32 to $35 all day for them.
Yeah, I definitely need to change, because I start those out at, like, if it's just a normal one, like my slim fits, I'm at like $25. But yeah, obviously I'm leaving a bunch of money on the table.
And sometimes, I mean, I might sit on one for a month, but to me, I hold on for 30 days and I still sell it for 40. To me, it's still the investment's worth it, you know, versus, because I get offers all the time, people asking $12, $15, $22. And then, you know, if I've had it for like, you know, for so long, I'll definitely, you know, take the best offer. But typically that doesn't ever happen with things that I sell, thankfully. I mean, just yesterday I went to Salvation Army. I didn't care to go today for half off, because that one's like, it's like Black Friday. There's like 50, 60 people at the front door lined up to go in. So I've been going now on Tuesday nights and just taking everything for full price, because it's not that big of a difference. I mean, it's $5 versus $2.50. And I found two extra large Brooks Brothers shirts with the sheep on it, and they've probably been more, maybe 2 times. I mean,
that's exactly how I am when I go. Like, they have the 50% off sales at our Salvation Army, typically once a month or so. And like a lot of the workers there know me. So they're like, oh yeah, do you know about our 50% off sale coming this Saturday? And I'm like, yeah, I do know about it. But I enjoy my sanity a little bit more rather than having to deal with these huge crowds and hordes of people. And actually our Salvation Army here in Michigan, they give us a 35% loyalty card. So every $250 you spend, they then fill out this card and you get 35% off your order. So that actually helps with pricing, because some of the Salvation Armies around here, they price decently high, but with that 35% off, it makes it doable.
Yeah, that's nice. Ours is 50% off every Wednesday, so it's the same people there every Wednesday. Most people there are just to buy their own personal, their known knickknacks. But there's a few resellers, and like I was at one end of the aisle, and this lady was coming toward me, and she literally just skips all the shirts so she could cut me off, in a sense, and she just shoved all the clothes down to one side, so I couldn't even see what the tag was. And it's like if you're gonna be like that, it's like one thing. It's be respectful. I mean, other people here are shopping for their own personal use. But the ones that are here shopping for for resellers, yeah, we're competition, but don't be rude like that. So sometimes it's not worth picking a fight with someone like that. And like I said, just go around it and go the day before and take what she could have gotten the next day. Take it for full price, because in the end, it's still worth it. There's still money to be made.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I haven't really noticed. I mean, I guess I source about as much as you do each week. I've been sourcing a little more because my assistants have been on top of their game. But yeah, I haven't really noticed any resellers that much. Again, they're mostly in the women's section anyway. So I've been kind of lucky in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I hate, like, I've never had someone like push a rack of clothes out of the way just so I could look at them. But like I have all the time, people were like reaching over my cart to keep looking at shirts that I'm also looking at. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like I'll be out of your way in 45 seconds or so.
Yeah. Some people just don't know when to, it's like, we're both here. There's plenty to go around, but I've seen people, there's a lady that goes on Friday. She brings her husband with her. So they have two carts. They'll go down the same aisle. And these aisles are basically no wider than a buggy. There's clothes on both sides. And they'll put both buggies in the middle with their kids sitting in them, so you can't even go on either end. And they meet you in the middle, so they're basically blocking you with a blockade. You can't even go down the aisle. So it's like, and they're doing it on purpose, but it's like, you can't say nothing to them besides, excuse me, I'm trying, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a bit ridiculous. So a bunch of people notice that your photos are on point. So can you talk a little bit about your process there?
Yeah. I think I had the same light kit that you just picked up off Amazon recently. It's nice, it's really similar. I have that light kit. I actually upgraded the bulbs. I bought some from Canada, and they're like crazy bright. I mean, it's like super white light, and they're perfect for that. But I just use a plain white piece of like that the paper that you buy off Amazon, lay it flat. And in the beginning, I was actually hanging the shirt or the jacket on the wall on my back porch in my first condo, and I lived in Ponte Vedra. And at first that was working, I was making a few $100s a month, and I thought, oh, this is cool. And then I decided to get a mannequin, because I noticed a lot of people online for suits and dress shirts and things like that, they use a mannequin. It looks really professional. And once I started the mannequin, my sales went to 1,000 plus a month. And then I started following this gentleman from, I think he lives in Chicago, and he sells a lot of like brand new, high end, like everything from Brioni, Cornelani, Brooks, all things with brand new attacks. He's a wholesaler of some kind, but he does everything flat lay. And I started experimenting with that. And once I started that, my sales started doubling that from 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And it's super easy. I mean, you just lay it flat, because the mannequin, and even laying on the hanger, sometimes it distorts the shape of that clothing item. So one thinks that one sleeve's longer, one's shorter. At least when it's laying flat, it looks like it would be if you were at the store looking at a shirt. Usually they lay them flat on the table, folded up of some kind. And started doing that. But I use my iPhone 6, taking pictures, nothing fancy. And then I use two apps for editing. I use Pic Joiner for the way I put the pictures in there, and I just edit them through the basic iPhone app that it has inside of it. But yeah, it's nothing special. It's it's pretty basic. I mean, it takes a little time, because I use the pick joiner and I put like multiple pictures into one main picture. So when someone looks at my listing, they don't see just the main item. They see multiple pictures from the tag, the picture, usually a picture of the full body of the suit or the jacket or the shirt. And then like a close up of like the collar and a close up of like the sleeve, just to kind of show basically the whole shirt in one picture, but different ways, different aspects of it. And it's done really well for me in the past.
Nice. I wish Bethany was in the chat right now. Bethany's just thrifted on Instagram. She's always harping on me about getting a mannequin, and then you were just talking. I only do flat lays also. You were just talking about how your sales went from $1,000 a month to $4,000 a month when you started doing the flat.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot easier, a lot quicker, and obviously if you're selling a few thousand items, you kind of need to take away a little bit from doing the mannequin. I mean, the whole process of putting the clothes on the mannequin and stuff, it can come very tedious. And obviously in menswear, like when men are buying clothing, they don't really care that much. They already know the fit for the most part. Men are pretty brand loyal.
Yeah. So they don't ask me questions. I rarely get questions when it comes to men's clothing, unless it's maybe like sometimes a picture may look darker or lighter. One picture they ask me what picture is more closer to the actual color of the clothing, but they never ask. I mean, because they take most of these suits and jackets to a tailor to get it fixed to their fitting. But most men, like you said, they look at it. If they want it, they buy it. They don't, they don't think twice about it usually.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for that. So I reached out to a few people and then actually had a few questions emailed to me from the fans, your fan club. So the first one is by Potty Mouth Motivator. She's actually in the chat right now. It would be hers home on Instagram. She, I believe her husband is a former Army guy. So she actually asked, does being around a Navy base affect your sourcing? So like, do you notice maybe higher end clothing because maybe people are only there for a year or two and they're just donating all their stuff before they go back home, or what have you noticed about it?
I mean, I definitely think there's more clothing items in the Goodwills because of being close to the big Navy base that's here. I mean, the one I live at in Fleming Island, it's maybe like 15 minutes north of here is the big Navy base here in Jacksonville. So, I mean, I definitely would say there's more pickings for the thrift stores around this area because of the people that come in for a year, 4 years, and then they move to their state or their country. So they're always, donating, but also going back to just the area I live in. I mean, there's so many places to golf here, and there's so many high-end residence homes. So like, it's like I said, it's crazy. I find like these suits and these dress shirts that you would think they were basically brand new without tags, and maybe been worn once or twice, and they're already donated. I mean, it's insane. I mean,
definitely. So I had another question, an email question actually came in this morning from a lady named Jen. She wants to know, because I believe she follows you on Instagram, and she noticed that you sell a lot of suits. So she wants to know, is there like a good way or a proper way to fold a suit prior to being shipped? So it doesn't look like this is your first time ever shipping a suit.
Oh yeah, let me grab one. I'll say I actually fold it.
All right, cool. Look at that, guys. We're getting the First Coast Reseller VIP treatment of on how to.
This is probably like the best I've ever actually found in my entire life. I probably will never find another one. Maybe could be lucky. First, tell you a backstory on it. I was at the Goodwill about a week ago, and I was just thumbing through stuff, and I found like that double R Ralph Lauren jacket. I found a master jacket. There's like new with tags, and then I came across this jacket. And like I said, when you looking for jackets, you check both sides because sometimes the label is on the left side, sometimes on the right side, depending on what brand it is. And I started looking, and then I about had a heart attack when I found it because this brand, to me and for most people, is so rare. And I came across a Tom Ford suit.
Wow.
50% silk, 50% wool. And I literally thought, I was like walking in here and basically stealing. I walked to the bank and stealing something because I felt like this shouldn't, because the boutique next door should have had this item. They usually put it online, they sell it in their store for ridiculous amounts of money. and I got it for $10.99. And I walked up there, and the manager, I guess she's a new manager, never seen her before. I have a pretty good relationship with all the ladies that check me out on a weekly basis, but she was actually being a little nosy and going through and looking at everything. And she's like, you know what kind of suit this is? Like, yeah. I was like, that's why I'm buying it. And she's like, oh, it's a little too big for you. I was like, well, I said, it's not for me. And she's like, oh, who's it for? I was like, oh, it's for my dad. I was like, my dad likes suits. He lives in Atlanta. I was going to tell her I was a reseller. And she's like, oh, this shouldn't even be in here. Hold on a minute. And I was like, is she really going to come in here and snatch this from me and then say I can't purchase it even though I have all the rights to purchase it? And anyways, she left for like 10 minutes, and I stood there at the cashier waiting for her to come back. And she apparently went back there and fussed everyone to back out, saying, you cannot let these items slip through the cracks. This is the kind of item you should not be allowing to go out on the floor. It should be going next door or online. But in the end, she was cool about it. She's like, oh, you got lucky, This one's, you got this one. So, but anyways, I usually just take the jacket, hold it up, and then I just fold it front down with the, fold in the sleeves, just fold it in half, and then fold it in half one more time. And that's pretty much all I do. It's pretty basic. It keeps it, from being the most wrinkled as it possibly is going to be. In the end, I mean, whoever purchased it, they're going to take it to their local dry cleaners and get it dry cleaned, and possibly even get it tailored to their fitting. And I do the same thing for the pants. Just fold it as nice and neat as possible. And I usually ship them in, if it's more of a high-end suit, I use the regional B box because it's a little bit bigger. I pay like a few bucks more, but it's not that big a difference. But I never had any complaints besides one lady that I sent I think it was two Peter Millar dress shirts, and I sent them first class, and she said they looked wrinkled, and she didn't like it, so she wasn't happy. but can't make everyone happy. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I usually those for that. But then if it's a basic suit, from Joseph A. Bank to Brooks Brothers, I use regional A. They usually fit in that pretty snugly, and like I said, never had any problems with that from the A or B box for the most part.
Nice. So do you have that Tom Ford suit up on your eBay right now? Or?
I actually listed it today. Yeah, I listed it today.
How much are you asking for that?
$1,200. I put it on Grail for $14.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'll definitely get that though. Is it a suit or just a suit coat jacket?
It's a suit. It's a full suit. I found I went to a local thrift store about a year ago, and it's a church thrift store. And it's the size of like a Winn-Dixie Walmart. It's huge, and it just opened. I went in, and looking through this stuff, and I actually found my first Tom Ford blazer, just a blazer, and they're asking $10 for it, and I picked it up, and it's just a plain navy one, and then I sold it within I think 2 days for $350 just for the blazer.
Nice. So I have a personal question for you. What's your largest sale that you've had ever?
Let me think. Let's see. Probably, I think it was a Brooks Brothers new with tags Regent fit dress suit. I sold it for close to $700. And then like I said, I've had multiple things from, like I sold that Brioni suit a few days ago for $500, and I actually have I have 4 more Brioni suits to list, and I've been kind of procrastinating because why do you have such great quality suit and you haven't listed it? My girlfriend's been asking me. So, but yeah, I mean, I found a cool vintage starter Charlotte Hornets basketball jacket about a year ago. I sold it for $375 on eBay. And,
wow, you sold a starter jacket for $375?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I just had, actually these past 2 weeks, I've set records for, like I sold a sweater on Etsy last weekend for $700. That was my largest one.
That's insane for a sweater.
Yeah, well, so I haven't actually released. I need to check the tracking number to make sure that it got there first. I didn't want to release exactly what it was until I knew it got there safe.
Yeah.
And the guy left me positive feedback. He hasn't done that yet, but I also haven't looked at the tracking number. But then, yeah, yesterday actually, I had my second highest sale at $380 on Balenciaga shoes. So
that's cool. Yeah, I found a pair of Gucci high top sneakers or men's. And first I thought they were fake, and then I picked up for $10, and I got them authenticated, and I flipped those for I think $350. And they were a smaller size, like a size 8. And men's, I thought that'd be hard to sell, but some dude in Miami picked them up like a few days later, and I was like, like I said, when it comes to when you're looking for sourcing for things, don't have second guesses about something, especially if it's for the right, the right amount, you can flip it for a profit. Don't take the chance of, I'll come back and get it next week, or I'll come back and get it at the end of the day. So usually it's going to be gone, or you're just throwing away money.
Exactly. Like even if I'm unsure, like if the price isn't too high, if I'm unsure of the authenticity of a product, I'll still pick it up because I'll go home and do my research, reach out to some people when I get home and see if it is real. And if it's not, then at worst I'm losing $10. And if it is real, then you're talking about some big money. So
yeah,
pretty cool. All right, we got a couple off-topic reselling fan questions. One from a girl named Lauren. She wants to know what your favorite Mark Wahlberg movie is.
Ooh, it's kind of tough. Let me think about that. I actually just saw this movie, Boston. I think Boston Strong. That was really good with him in it.
Is that with the Boston Marathon bombing?
Yeah, that was really good. I thought he did well in that. But I mean, Mark Wahlberg. I'm not the biggest Mark Wahlberg fan. I mean, I like his family, like they own like the restaurants and all, his brothers. But I'm more of a Russell Crowe, Hugh Jackman fan when it comes to actors.
Okay. And then one last fan question before we get to the live chat questions. The Deal Queen wants to know, are you single?
I'm not. I've been dating a young lady named Devin for the last year and a half. I met about a year after I moved here to Jacksonville.
Sorry, he's off the market.
Yeah, we just moved in together this past February or January. So.
All right. So Potty Mouth Motivator had another question. So since you don't have that many, you said about 90 to 100 items in your store. Do you know what like your sell-through rate is?
Each month I probably sell, let's see, I think this month, I'm about right at 55 items I've sold this month. And that's about average for me, about between 50 and like 60-ish. So I don't sell like on like a high volume, but I definitely when I'm trying to get in more of the high volume because like I said, it's out there. I have the opportunities to pick up more items. And right now I do have a death pile, as we call it. I call it more of a honey hole because it's full of just really great items. But I mean, I'm trying to, I don't list many items a day. I list maybe 6 to 12 a day. It's just what I've been doing in the past, and it works for me. I mean, I try to do more on certain days, but I mean, I'm busy doing other things too. So, but it works for me. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm doing more and more. Sometimes I list more on the weekends, but through the week I try to do like 8 to 12 items on average in the mornings. And like I said, I'll do maybe 2 or 3 suits. I think with like 4 or 5 shirts, maybe like a sweatshirt, like some shoes, and just kind of just randomize it a little bit over throughout the day and just kind of like do that. But I probably have around probably 30 suits right now with probably maybe like another like 20, 30 dress shirts and then other random little things that I've sold. Like I sold a brand new in the box Epson CD printer last night. Picked it up for $5 and sold it for $210 to a gentleman in
wow, nice,
Delaware. Probably doesn't make his printer anymore, and like he said that he has one, but he's purchasing mine because when his fails and dies out in a few years, who's to say he can still find one. So.
So they also want to know what lighting kit did you use, or where'd you get it from? Was it just Amazon?
I purchased off Amazon, and I think it's called Limo Studio. I think I paid maybe $35, $40, $50 maybe for it. It was pretty cheap. It's the one that Rakin, he told me to look on Amazon for. It's for a basic lighting kit. It comes with the 2 tall stands with the 2 umbrellas, and then it comes with a smaller light stand as well. And it produces more light than I probably actually need, but it definitely, I have to play around with it sometimes. If it's like a darker, I have trouble doing with darker items because the brightness kind of overshadows it. But usually I have to edit it, and then, but for like brighter color things, it looks perfect. I mean, it's flawless. I mean, for the feet. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy so far with my kit. I might actually buy more powerful bulb because I have vinyl, like vinyl paper kind of as my flat lay right now. And I think the lighting, I think they're a little too spread out right now, and not powerful enough. So there's some like weird shadows going on. So I'll actually probably keep the lights. I'm pointing because I'm looking at the lights outside the frame right now. I'm using them for this setup, so I might actually just buy more powerful lights. But yeah, I mean, I can't complain. I bought the same lighting kit as you did. All right, so the next question is, they want to know, I know you talked about it earlier, but there's some people that join late. They want to know your average cost per item that you get.
Yeah, dress shirts, they run me about $4.49 with tax, $4.80, so less than $5 on average. Sometimes half that, depending on if I go to Salvation Army on half off days. Jackets, it's a sport coat jacket, blazer, or even like a Patagonia North Face jacket, they run for $6 at the local Goodwills. And then suits usually run me like $10.99, so like $11.71 with tax. Every once in a while, I'll pay like $15 for a suit at these other few small thrift stores I go throughout Jacksonville, but they're usually like higher end suits, so I don't mind paying an extra few dollars. It is funny though, here in Jacksonville, Goodwill's, if you have to find a leather jacket, they charge $20 for it, no matter what brand leather jacket it is. That's the only thing that's outrageous in our local thrift stores in this area. Just yesterday, I went to a thrift store I was actually going to pass up on the way home, and I think thankfully I stopped at it. And let's see, I was looking through the leather jackets, which I do for fun, just because you never know what you can find. I came across this brown leather bomber jacket. It's a A2 leather jacket, but it's made by Ralph Lauren. And I was looking at comps, and they're ranging from anywhere from like $300 to $500 on eBay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're definitely very pricey pieces.
Yeah, so I was like, for that amount, I was like, I don't mind paying $20 for a suit or for a leather jacket for that kind of money. And I picked up an LL Bean bomber jacket about a month ago for, I think it was $13 at Salvation Army on a normal day, and I still flipped it for like $160. So if you can find the right leather items, I mean, in this area, it's definitely worth it. But it's funny, like if you go, I went down the coast, so that I went halfway to Miami to drop my girlfriend off with her cousin who lives in Miami for her spring break. And the Goodwills down there, the shirts were actually cheaper. The shirts were $3.89 versus $4.80 here, but suits were $30. So it's like goes from $12 to $30 for a suit. But you know, it's crazy how like Northwest, I guess Goodwill's branched off in different sections from like Central, South, and North on how they price their items.
Okay. Someone wants to know, or 10K on the Bay asked, how long do you typically spend on one listing? I'm assuming it's probably a little bit longer on the higher end items because you want to make sure that everything's on point. But talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Like I said, I usually in the mornings I'll wake up. We usually get around 6:30 because my girlfriend's a teacher, and so we wake up about 6:30. And I'll come in and I'll pick out the few items on a list if it's, a few dress shirts or a few suits. But for like a typical dress shirt, I'll maybe spend maybe 3 or 4 minutes, 5 at the most, on trying to figure out exactly, like looking at comps, on seeing what one sells for. And then I usually just copy someone else's listing and I put my own information. I have like templates drawn up already and I just change the brand, the sizes, the material, the fabric, the design. Put all that in there, but I usually use someone else's their title and just change a few things or add something to it, take away from it. And that takes, like I said, 3 to 4 minutes, maybe less, depending on what it is. And for suits, I maybe spend 10 minutes total, 15 for taking pictures included from doing the measurements. Because suits, like I said, I make sure they're pretty much accurate when it comes to the lengths. I do like it's either a half or it's a full inch, or if it's a 1/4 inch. I put that in the listing just to give that person the best measurement that they can get. So when it comes to them looking at their own suits, they can tell if this is going to fit, if it's not going to fit, if they're going to spend some extra money to get it tailored, to get it fit them properly. So I try to make sure it's, to a T. That way, when I sell something, it doesn't come back to me. And it definitely, like I said, I have a pretty low return rate. I maybe have like 1 item a month return to me. So it goes the extra mile by taking a few extra minutes when I spend on these items that I do list on a daily basis, just to make sure that, it's the proper, measurements, it's the right description, it's, it's going to get, make sure my keywords are correct, or that they're in the right settings. So, it works. And some people, they push through items, but with me, my business style, I take a little bit more extra time on each item.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So just a few more, there's about 5 or 6 minutes left. So
Okay.
a few questions that came in. I don't know if you want to give out your store name or not. You typically don't, but that's up to you. If you don't, I totally understand, because
As of right now, I'm not going to. I've heard horror stories for people doing that, people messaging people, to people buying stuff and then like not paying or reselling. So, since I've just started doing more in the Instagram world, if I ever do put it out there, I'll definitely post it on my Instagram for everyone to see. So, and it's not that I'm against, but I do see myself doing it eventually, just not at this time. But if someone is definitely interested in learning from something, I have given it out on to DM me, and I've handed it out that way for people to learn and to maybe ask questions or to see how I do things differently.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was, just hearing those horror stories, especially from like State's Place or Just Thrift, that has actually released videos on Instagram saying like, stop messaging me, I'm getting all these messages on eBay. I fully support that too. Do you sell on any other platforms besides eBay?
Yeah, I've actually, because of you, I've got into opened up an account a week ago with Grailed and Etsy. I've bought things on Etsy before, like just little knick-knack things, but I never thought about actually selling on either one before. So I opened up Grailed just last week and posted probably 20 items, mostly like my high-end suits, dress shirts, and a few vintage items. And I've got a few hits, but no one's came through yet, which I've heard stories people wait a little bit longer. Sometimes they will offer, but they never come through. But, hopefully some of those will work out. And then I also did Etsy a few days ago, opened that account up and posted, I think around another 20, 25 items about more than just the vintage things. I have like a vintage women's ski suit. I have 2 Guess sweatshirts on there, some Adidas, Nike vintage items, and things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's my biggest complaint about Grailed is, you'll get all these offers all day and you'll accept them and then they'll just never pay. It's not something like with Poshmark, where once they give you the offer and you accept it, then the transaction's mostly done. Like, I guess there's still like a 3-hour window that I learned about, or I've been learning about, because I actually sent out a pair of shoes this morning, had them dropped off at the post office. Then I started sourcing, and then got a notification on my phone that they canceled the transaction, and they were $300 shoes. So,
oh man,
I ended up just contacting Poshmark. I'm just waiting for them to respond. I talked to the Deal Queen too. Obviously, she's one of the more original users of Poshmark, and she told me that it should be fine. So I'm not too worried about it, but it gets a little annoying when you have to deal with something.
Yeah, I guess the Grail is cool too. Like if someone sends you an offer and you accept, people still can send you more offers to, if they purchase it before the other person misses out, at least you can still sell it.
Exactly. My first sale, and what got me hooked on Grailed, I actually was following someone on Instagram last year and messaged him. I think he's in Michigan too. Messaged him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, get on it." So I posted a bunch of vintage Tommy Hilfiger stuff. Got instantly offered on this plaid jacket, and then I accepted. They didn't pay, and then 5 minutes later, a guy bought it full asking price. So from there, I was hooked. I was like, "Oh man, this is too easy." And I had zero interest on it on eBay for like a month or a month and a half, and then 5 minutes of posting on Grailed, and it just.
Yeah, I've noticed like with some items though, that I've listed on Etsy and Grailed, I have more I guess they like the item, or they add it to a favorite on Etsy. I actually have more people draw to those items on those two forms versus eBay. So I'm hoping, you know, with that, because I see, you know, you're really successful with that. Hopefully, some of these items that I picked up that aren't moving on eBay, maybe they'll move eventually on Etsy, because more of the vintage style goes. I'm not sure people just against eBay and they only look at Etsy versus eBay, or they do both. And maybe since eBay is such a larger base for clothing, it's getting overlooked, or it's not being pushed up on, you know, the first few pages whenever someone types in the certain keywords. But I'm hoping, you know, eventually I start producing some things on Etsy and Grail.
Yeah, my theory on kind of the smaller websites, something like with Etsy, Grail, Poshmark, stuff like that, it's a little more intimate with your items, so they're more like in your face and at the top of search, or yeah, on top of searches, because there's just not as many items to compete with like on eBay. Like if you have like a Brooks like a Brooks Brothers dress shirt or something, you're probably competing with 10,000 other listings. As maybe on Grail, if it's a nice piece, like that's right in front of their face. So there's trade-offs. Obviously, you're gonna have more eyeballs on it on eBay just because of the usership. But again, like on more common like items, or even like vintage common items, you might have better success on Etsy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. All right, the hour is now up. I appreciate you coming on. I've learned quite a bit from you in the little time that I've been following you. I started picking up suits now. Before I just hated going through them, but then I saw the prices that you're getting, and I was like, man, I need to get on that suit train. So
yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me. I mean, like I said, I've learned so much from just you in the last few weeks since like I said, started doing Instagram with my reseller account. So, I mean, so there's so much. I mean, I learn something new every day, and when it comes from, you know, it could be something vintage, something that's newer. Like, you know, every brand has their sub brands. I mean, it's like, you know, it's something you can learn every day, and it comes. I mean, it's great that, you know, like the Instagram community, you know, people, they allow us to be able to, you know, spread the knowledge. I mean, you know, knowledge is addicting. So if someone's willing to learn, you know, like I said, I'm willing to teach. And if you or anyone else here has information, you know, questions on any kind of clothing item, just hit me up. You know, you can DM me, and I'll give you my phone number. You know, if we get talking, you know, more personal like that for, you know, longer items, or to show you step by step on what I do on certain things, you know, happy to help you when I can.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that. And yeah, if you guys don't follow him, he is First Coast Reseller on Instagram. He currently only has Instagram as his social media. So the name's also going to be, or it's currently in my bio right now, or on the YouTube description. And again, hit him with the follow, and thanks for showing up and listening to our interview. Have a good night, everyone.